everyone can please have a seat and quiet down. We're going to call up Ken to say one of the stories that we received from a male's perspective.
I'm not really going to get into a story of heartbreak. Instead, I have a question. Maybe it can help prevent heartbreak in others. How do you know when you're actually in love? I have feelings for this girl, and it feels like real love to me. It feels so very real. I've known her for 2.5 years or so. It wasn't lust at first sight or anything. Instead, I slowly developed feelings for her that grew into what I think is love. I love her so purely. I couldn't even imagine lustful things about her if I wanted to. I love her because she is her. All her imperfections. I see them clearly, but I love her anyway. I can view her as a real person, and I don't feel infatuated. I can imagine being married to her, raising a family with her. I'd take working with her over chilling alone any day of the week. And I feel as if I know it is love. But what if I'm wrong? How do I know for sure?
That's it.
That's the first
So there's our first question. You read that really good, brother.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
You sure you didn't write it? The topic, the question repeatedly he asked, can I see which one it was? Thank you. He repeatedly in this question obviously is trying to figure out what are the feelings that he's feeling inside of himself. Is it true love? Is it not true love? These things. Again, based on the context of what we said in our previous presentation before Salatul Maghrib, we talked about the difference between real love and true love. So this question, I think, from my perspective, I've answered this question for him now to look at himself now and see where he fits in. Is this love bringing him closer to Allah? Is this love bringing him in obedience to Allah? And if it is healthy, then as the brother said that he wants to get married, the Prophet ﷺ has encouraged us to get married. I mean, this is very clear. In a room of college students, I'm not shy to say, like, the Prophet has encouraged marriage at young age, and many times in the Sunnah, we've seen the Prophet encouraging that over and over again when the circumstances someone has the ability to do that. So there is no one real question in this. The main thing we see him is at coming to terms, trying to figure out, is this love? Isn't it love? I mean, based on what we spoke about today, then I would doubt maybe some of the things that he stated in here. But wallahu alam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best his heart. And if it is true, then I would recommend them getting married without a doubt. Wallahu alam. No need to clap after. If there's any other, at this point we also said, Sister Zainab and I agreed that we would like feedback from different people regarding the questions, if possible. Yes, sister.
So you said that we shouldn't have expectations from people. So how do you not have expectations from people that you maybe care about or that you like?
Yeah. So how do you not do that? I would say we have to look not at what we expect from people, but what I should always be doing for that next person. Don't focus on what you should be doing for me. That's not the focus of each and every one of our relationships with the next person. What I need to be thinking on in my heart throughout the day is, how can I fulfill my rights to you, fulfill your rights, what I can do for you. That when we talk about expectations, we're talking about what you are supposed to give me. And that's what I'm saying we need to stop focusing on. In any relationship where we start talking about, well, you owe me this, you should have done that, then we're going the wrong way. We're going the wrong way. So don't focus on what you should have got, rather focus on what you should be giving to the other person. And that goes both sides. So that's how I would recommend not focusing on expectations. The sister here.
Yeah. But like, how can you like talk to someone like if you have expectations? Like, should you have a thorough discussion with them about it?
Should you bring up like where their shortcomings are? Definitely. What we're gonna see in one of the questions is communication. There's a big. I'm sure many of you have seen. We'll come to that one later. Communication is very big. It's very important that in any relationship, people don't read minds, right? And many brothers have come to me over and over again saying, she says this, but then gets mad at me, right? And then when I tell my wife, she's like, yep, he didn't get it. He missed it. He didn't understand the situation properly. So we don't work that way. You just tell me, I do it. That's it, right? It's over. Khalas. Not reading between the lines and all of that. But remember, I want to make sure a lot of these, what we read today, are going to read, are relationships that our prophet and our religion would not condone. It's not permissible. And you're setting yourself up for spiritual, emotional disaster when you disobey Allah and His Messenger. If you believe that, if you hold them to be your prophet and your religion, your way of life. So many of these relationships, I don't want to belittle that at all. While we have this discussion, many of these relationships would not be relationships the Prophet ﷺ would look good upon. And because of it starting that way, now we get all of these road bumps that come across along the way. Okay, yes, question?
Okay. Along with what the guy was asking in the confession, how would a guy approach that situation without going beyond the woman's barriers and just overstepping his boundaries, because the woman may not feel the same way.
So Islamically speaking, traditionally the way that it's done is not always directly. Like if the person wanted to get married in a traditional Islamic setting, we see this with the Prophet himself. Khadija wanting to marry him, she didn't just go directly to him. She went through one of his friends or one of his cousins or someone to find out indirectly if there was interest that reciprocated. And many times, brothers, it's not reciprocated. There's a study from Wisconsin University and Oregon University about what a platonic friend and what guys think and what women think, right? And it's completely different, Platonic relationships from a man's perspective, studies have shown don't exist. Straight up, they don't exist. It's a myth. And the studies show that a woman would deem this as a purely platonic relationship, right? And then when they ask the same man, he says no. It's going to go somewhere eventually. Like there's a dream somewhere way down the line. And the one thing about Islam that I love is it deals with reality. And studies show this is how we are, right? So with these studies coming out showing these things, one done by Berkeley, one done by Washington State University, these are really detailed studies. You can look them up yourselves about platonic relationships. Do they really exist or not? And Islam has addressed that issue 1,400 years ago and said it doesn't exist, right? From your side it does, but that guy's not thinking that way at all. Yes.
It kind of just mentioned how he wanted to marry her, and then you say, no, that's a great thing, you should marry her.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you said that they can't approach, so what would you say would be the most...
No, so the best way to find out is, first thing is, the Prophet ﷺ taught us to look at this particular potential spouse. Look at them. And look at them doesn't just mean physical looking at them, but actually knowing a little bit about that person for basic compatibility. Right? And after that is found, then tawakkul ala Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the relationship is begun with that. After finding out basic compatibility, I mean, there's a point where you realize I know enough about this person whether to go forward or not to go forward. But that is the beginning. Like the love is put at that point. We have so much experience where people can date for many years, and that does not necessitate a successful marriage at all. That's just outright wrong. So the way that Islam has given us, the beautiful way, is that the relationship begins at the marriage. Now that doesn't mean that there's no compatibility or that there's no interest or that you don't choose who you get married to and all of that cultural stuff. No, not at all. You have a right to choose and make sure that this person is completely compatible with you. Right? But there's a limit, right? There's a limit that وَلَا مُتَّخِذَاتِ أَخْدَانِ is clear in the Quran. Like there's no boyfriend, girlfriend in Islam. That's like clear cut. right? That's in the Quran. And many of us don't know that. We think that's a cultural thing. It's actually in the Quran. وَلَا مُتَّخِذَاتِ أَخْدَانٍ. Right? It's very clear. Right? So getting to know the person, that the Prophet taught us to do that. Learn who that person is. But there's a limit, right? And each of us kind of know that limit, right? And if we don't, maybe we should get a third party to kind of, ask us, have we crossed the limit yet? Let's go to the next one, inshallah. There's more questions. I mean, there's more confessions, as he called it. We're going to do a woman, female one, inshallah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. This one.
I don't feel good enough for my family, for my friends, for myself, or for God. Even though I know it's not the way to go about living, I see my days filled with things I do desperately, either to please or in rebellion. They would throw me a bone, a little bit of attention here and there, and I feel overjoyous then, with the joy tainted with the knowledge of what it's coming from. I have tried being needed. I have tried being needy. Nothing seems to work. I feel completely abandoned by the world, no matter what I do. Not good enough. 24 female.
Brothers and sisters, we have to stop defining ourselves by others. We aren't what others make of us. You are what you know yourself to be and what God knows you to be. This is something very important that we really have to come to terms with, is stop looking at yourself every day, every moment, by what the world thinks about me, what my parents think about me, what my siblings think about me, but rather you judge yourself by what you know about yourself and what God knows about you also. That's the very first thing. Secondly, we don't need attention. This striving constantly for attention and to be noticed by others, this too needs to be addressed because it's dangerous. This seeking for attention has led people to be serial killers just so that they get attention for a moment. Just for that glimpse, that one time I'm in the newspaper, I got the attention of the world looking at me. So now in the age where we all tweet, we all want likes, we all want views, we all want our moment of glory, right? Ask yourself, what does that fame really get you? Well, the Prophet ﷺ said a beautiful hadith I try to remind myself of often. Remember this hadith. Ma alayka alla tu'raf. Ma alayka alla tu'raf. It won't hurt you to be unknown. It won't hurt you to be unknown. At a time when we seek, everyone wants to be known. Just know my name. Just make one of my tweets go viral. That's it. It could be for the most indecent action, but I'm viral once. I made it. I made it. What'd you make? What'd you get? Like in the you were nothing. But attention, the need and want for attention has grown so much that we'll do the most vile and sick things just to be known. So this is a big disease. This is a big disease that we just got to get over. Struggle with yourself. Get over it. That I don't need to be known. I don't need everyone to know my name. It's not like Cheers, right? That's before. That's way back. I'm sure. I'm talking to it. So does everyone get that point? I didn't mean to end that, but seriously, that's very important. Yes?
So some people may find that now that they realize that they don't need this attention, they realize they've been longing for that attention.
Yeah.
What steps do you take to reverse that trend?
Physical, practical steps on that. Once you become aware of that sickness inside of you, that desire, that need inside of you, then you have to actually physically start just opposing it, right? And you'll know when you're doing something seeking that fame. You'll know, and that's, subhanAllah, our religion always teaches us to question your actions, right? So if you've got that understanding now that I'm doing so much for the attention of others, then each action you do, each post you do, you just got to re-correct your intention. Like, am I doing this to be seen? Am I doing this so people know who I am? Another thing is knowledge. Knowing the reality that what will I get if everyone knows me? Ask yourself that question. What's the big deal? What do I get? What do I get if everyone knows my name? Then what? All the people who everyone knows don't want to be known. All those people who can't walk into the masjid except for everyone's like, shake, 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 shake. They're like, man, I wish I could walk in the masjid and just Allahu Akbar and walk out, right? So realize that those who have achieved that look back and say, don't come this way. It's nothing over here. That's one way. And then realizing yourself, what do I get if I actually get all that fame, if I get known, if I get that post that's viral, if I get the attention of the world, but I still don't know myself, what did I get? You got nothing.
But I feel like oftentimes it's like you just want attention from like that one like person that I guess you have like an inclination towards. So how do you like?
We have to communicate. We have to communicate. Sometimes a guy is sitting on the couch like watching YouTube with you, and he thinks he's communicating, giving you attention, right? He thinks he's doing his job, and you're like, this ain't quality time, right? Quality time is like here, talking, right? So communicating, people don't really read minds well. I'm bad at it. And unless you tell me, like, certain things, I'm not going to know, right? I'm not going to know. And sometimes we'll do something, subhanAllah, for those married, it's just a whole different world speaking. You'll do something and think you did the best thing in the world, right? Like, yo, I did this. And you like, shoulders out, yeah, I did this today. And it gets no attention. They just look over it like, yeah, whatever, you know? And you're like, yo, I thought that would have made your day, right? So, communication. From that person, that's different. Now, I need attention from you. You're my wife. I'm your husband. We need to communicate, no doubt. And I need to give you. If I'm not giving you that, please let me know. And I want to know where I'm deficient in that area. Okay. So I think when we talk about not wanting attention, this is different from individuals, right? Different. And one problem with the Daisies, and I don't mean to stigmatize anyone, but I know the culture, y'all. Like, come on. For those who know me know enough. I know the culture, right? So anyways, one thing with the parent-child relationship is they're seeing all these American relationships with the son and the dad throwing the football, and the son's catching the football, and, they're playing baseball, walking around. And the Daisy dad uncle's like, nothing like that, let's just say, right? Nothing like that. So he wants the attention that he's seeing this other. So again, that's a more delicate relationship. Parent and father, just don't become that type of father, I could say, number one. And understand your father and mother's way of showing you attention. Right? And don't expect it always to be the way you want it. Understand that when my dad, hits me on the head like that means I love you, son. That's what it means. That's his way of saying I love you, right? And if he said I love you, it just won't even come out, right? It won't even come off his lips. It can't happen. But that smack in the head was his way of saying, good job. And then you appreciate the person and you love those nuances. Like those nuances, you remember when that person dies, you remember those nuances. You remember that. Like, hey, you remember how, like my mom would always sing the lyrics of the word that she doesn't really know. Like, Mom, you don't know the words. Stop, please. Let's listen to the song. It's before Islam, okay? Right? But she would be singing the lyrics and you don't know the lyrics, right? But I love that, right? And so the nuances are always there. Understand the people you deal with. Understand them. Try to understand how they love. Don't expect love to be the way you want love to always look like. Yes?
So I was speaking to my mom today, and she was telling me about a narration as to where it says, the prophet said, whoever you appoint as a judge is as if you slaughtered him without a knife or something.
Yeah.
So like, to the person that's in that position of the judge or someone who's been given this attention, how do you go about, like...
Yeah, if you're put in that position, you have a duty to do to society.
Not like as a judge, but like someone who
is in that position. He's made the president of MSA or something like that. You have a duty to society you have to fulfill. And you're just doing that to fulfill some rights of society that they have upon you. It's not that someone has to lead, someone has to stand up front. And whoever's doing that, his intention or her intention is that I'm doing this to fulfill duties and facilitate things for the whole society, right? So he's doing it because I'm forced to, and I'm fulfilling a right of great prophets. Yusuf was a leader, alayhi salatu wassalam. Sulaiman was a king. Dawood was a king. So, next question. Go ahead. Tell them I'm not in charge. It's up to you.
This next one comes from a 20-year-old male. Sheikh, I hope that inshallah I will meet you someday.
Shake, I hope.
Shake.
It's
yeah,
all good.
Well, one second.
It's
Before,
all
I
good.
don't want to butcher this one as well, right there.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah,
Right.
there you go.
Sheikh, I hope that inshallah I will meet you someday. My friend is going through a difficulty when living on campus. He, alhamdulillah, know Islam well, but there are a lot of distractions that is keeping him away from his deen. I don't know, but when I heard he goes to party and uses drugs, it really hurts me and makes me feel really frustrated. I know he's a good person, but why neglect yourself? Sometimes I have this anger that would make me actually want to find the people that are supporting this and giving this to my friend and beat them up forcefully. But I just don't know what to do. Please reclaim my heart.
So that's a beautiful friend. Just that friend saying this to that brother may change that brother's heart. Like that thing he just said, if one of your friends came to you with that, it would have a lot of effect on you. So that very thing he just said, I think we all go through ups and downs in our faith and our iman. But in those ups and downs, we need friends and people that will carry us through those things and get us through those down periods. That's why the Prophet emphasized good company so much. So this friend who has all this concern and it's angering him. This friend is getting angry because of their friend not going the right way. So communicate to that person, talk to that person, show them how much it's hurting you to see them in that situation, and I think that would reclaim your heart. That would reclaim your heart. That's all I can say.
This next one is from a 22-year-old female. I lost my grandmother many years ago. I was very close to her, but I feel like I was starting a more rebellious age. I look back and I fear that I may have disrespected her once or twice in frustration. I knew I did wrong and I was prepared to apologize, but she passed before I could do so. I was in so much pain when she passed. I loved her very much, and sometimes I feel ill, never truly getting over my mistakes with her or gaining forgiveness.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Her grandmother passed away, and she feels that there are some things that she didn't get forgiveness from her grandmother. So how should she deal with that? Very simple. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to give hadiyah to the friends of Khadijah just out of his love for Khadijah. Umar bin Khattab, he once said some words he didn't like to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and because of that, for years he gave sadaqah to rectify that wrong action. Like this feeling you're feeling on behalf of your grandmother, you can do so many righteous deeds to amend and fix that on her behalf. Giving sadaqah, giving charity, feeding people on her behalf. There's so much you can do that would benefit her in the hereafter on her behalf. So we find that the Prophet ﷺ, out of his love for Khadija, is constantly feeding the friends of Khadija after she's gone, long gone. So out of his love for her, that's what he's doing. So out of your love for your grandmother, do righteous deeds on behalf, and ask Allah to give the reward of those deeds to your grandmother. Give sadaqah on behalf of your grandmother. This is something that our Prophet has taught us we can do. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
This next one's a rather lengthy one, so I can just ask if you could please exercise some patience with me.
Inshallah.
Okay. So I met this girl 11 years ago at tuition. We studied there for 2 years, but then the tuition teacher went to the USA, and then we weren't in touch for like 6 years, and obviously everything had changed after that. After I found her on Facebook, she accepted my friend request after to explain. I had to explain who I was because she didn't remember. As for me, I remembered more than enough details. I even remembered her toddler face. So we talked for 2 or more years, but we never met. But I somehow developed an interest for her, and I used to stalk her and got obsessed with her. After those 2 years of talking, we became friendly, and I used to joke about and surprise her by giving her the details about her whereabouts. She said I was creepy and all. Time went by until recently I told her that I liked her. I wasn't even ready. It just came out me. She said she doesn't understand all this lovey-dovey, and I'm just saying I like her because I like her face. I was completely shocked. How can she even think like that? I mean, it's true I like her face and all, but it's a lot more than that. And she doesn't understand how I feel. Okay, so when I found her on Facebook, I was like, okay, she's just a friend and all. And I didn't talk to her for like 2 to 3 days. So one day I was up late at night and she was online, so I thought about talking to her. So we talked about what happened after we left the tuition 7 years ago. I told her my story, she told me hers. Also, she liked to talk about what she felt every minute, and so months passed and I developed a habit of talking to her. Well, I found out where she lived, and I decided that what would hurt if I saw her once? And so one day I went and waited. I didn't see her. I went there every day until I thought I saw her. I'm not sure. Even if it was someone else, I think it's just her. It resembled her so much, I was sure it was her. And I just felt crazy for her. Plus, I was talking to her, so liked her way of feeling, liked her way of talking. And me and her, we had so much in common, too. Some days I would talk to her first. Some days she wouldn't. But I didn't tell her how I felt about her. I thought my crush was temporary and it's going to pass, so I didn't bother telling her. So months passed. I went to Lahore, and at night, when everybody was asleep, I would talk to her all night. But the thing is, which I felt so bad about it, is that I never called her. Neither did she. We always texted. Why would I do that? Why didn't I build up a nice relation with her by calling? Anyways, when I was in Lahore, she gave me something to do. It was marketing, basically. I had to share an audio clip on Facebook and get as many likes as I could for an event hosted by a university in Lahore. She would be coming to Lahore with her high school friends as a delegation. I became so paranoid and so worried about this. Anyways, I did the marketing. But I wasn't the only one who was doing it. A lot of people like her friends and herself. So when I became crazily worried about this, I would stalk her male friends that who on earth were they? And I stalked her, and this is the moment that I realized I am done. That I am so much crazy and worried for this girl. So I went to Lahore in the winter of 2013, that is December 2013 and January 2014. After I came back to Karachi, I was, pretty much missing Lahore and all the times, so I didn't have anything to do. So I took a pause, and I just thought about the reasons why I'm crazy for this girl. From January 2014 till this time, I've become really obsessed, and I've been spying on her like, how professionals do it. And I just look for reasons to talk to her. Recently, she started her university, and I'm thinking about going there and, make sure she isn't up to something. I recently confessed to her that I liked her after 2 years of this feelings keeping hitting. And the only problem I saw is that she had in me was my creepiness and clinging onto her. She says that she isn't interested in any relationships and dating, and she needs her personal space, and she needs to redeem her true self. This is from a male that's 18 years old.
Okay, inshallah.
Here you are.
Thank you, inshallah. فَيَا عَجَبًا لِلنَّاسِ يَسْتَشْرِفُونَنِي. There's a poem. فَيَا عَجَبًا لِلنَّاسِ يَسْتَشْرِفُونَنِي كَأَن لَّمْ يَرَى مُحِبًّا قَبْلُ وَلَا بَعْدِ يَقُولُونَنِي إِسْرِمْ يَرْجِعُ الْعَقْلُ كُلُّهُ وَصَرْبُ الْحَبِيبِ لِلْعَقْلِ أَذْهَبُ لِلْعَقْلِ. The poet says, يَقُولُونَ فَيَا عَجَبًا لِلنَّاسِ يَسْتَشْرِفُونَنِي. He says, what's wrong with these people looking at me like I'm strange? فَيَا عَجَبًا لِلنَّاسِ يَسْتَشْرِفُونَنِي كَأَن لَّمْ يَرَى مُحِبًّا قَبْلُ وَلَا بَعْدِ. As if they never saw someone in love before or after me. يَقُولُونَ لِي. They say to me, إِسْرِمْ يَرْجِعُ الْعَقْلُ كُلُّ. Cut it off. Your aql will return. He says, وَصَرْمُ الْحَبِيبِ أَذْهَبُ لِلْعَقْلِ. But cutting off my beloved will take my intellect away even more. The man obviously is overtaken. قَدْ شَغَفَهُ حُبَّةً. As the Quran says, قَدْ شَغَفَهُ حُبَّةً. Reclaim your heart, bro. Like literally, man. Allah. This obviously, when you're going to such extents that are not even Islamically illegal, but even like legally illegal, then there's a limit to that love, right? It's taking you too far, and you need to know your limit, and you need to understand that your heart belongs to Allah. Your heart belongs to Allah. Allah has, nothing can contain Allah in this universe. Nothing in creation can contain Allah. But your heart can contain the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The place of Allah lies in your heart. And your heart, unfortunately, obviously, it's just taken over. And everything you're saying, like we said before, one step after the next, shaitan just takes you further and further. Just go see where she lives. Just go see if just one step after the next. And, it's obviously not permissible. Spying is not legal. Going to her, stalking is not legal, or even Islamically legal. And you need to try your best to cure yourself from this love that you have for her that's not even being reciprocated. So I have a practical step if someone is in this situation. One of my psychology teachers taught us a good method for disliking something. What he did, and he taught us different things for different people, he would take a picture of her, and on the inverse of the picture, he would write every single bad attribute of her. Right? Every single bad. Just contemplate it. Every single bad little attribute. Everyone who's perfect. And what he would do is every time, what he would do is every time that he would get that urge and he's thinking, then he would take the picture and he would look at the back of it. Right? So that psychologically now the first thing that you're remembering when that person comes up is those things that are on the back of the paper. So for this person in this situation, he needs to cut off all connection, because this is just a dangerous relationship at this point, and haram relationship at this point. We need to, let's leave it at that, inshallah. I don't know what else to say. If anyone else has something they want to say, by all means, please. Yes, Brother Ahmed.
I think anytime you love someone, whether it's family, whether it's anything, you give them a little bit of yourself. And it sounds like this guy, he just gave away too much.
He gave away too much, subhanAllah.
He doesn't have any value
Subhanallah. Subhanallah. Beautifully put. Yes.
Touching what you said, he should focus more on faith and finding himself in faith and realizing which principles he's not exactly following. I would also suggest getting a second person for that person to talk to about his obsession, because he stated that he kept these feelings hidden.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I was wondering, like, if there's any.
A lot of that stuff has to come out, and this is very important, having someone you can confide in and talk to. And honestly, to be really honest with you, we have lost what dua really means. So we have the concept of making dua or supplicating. So we've actually lost what that really means. It's actually a conversation between you and your Creator. So that's who you talk to. But besides that, we all should have that person. And most of the sisters have it. Brothers, normally, they deal with stuff by just holding it inside. Isn't it, brother, I need to talk to you about something, right? Like, we don't really normally do that, illa masha'Allah. But it's important to have, like he's saying, someone that you can talk to and let that out and speak to about what you're feeling inside. It's extremely important to get that out. I mean, if he just talked to one person, his friend, they would have told him right away, you're tripping, man. You're going way too far. It's going way too far. You need to get a hold of yourself and do some tawbah and something. Going too far. Any more? Any more? Questions, Sister Zahida?
I was thinking of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. If you remember that, anything.
Yes, she's saying using, for those who would counsel this person, if he's here, then he can remember the Prophet ﷺ. One person came. There's a few different examples. One person came and asked the Prophet ﷺ for permission to commit zina, a young man. And the Prophet ﷺ, he explained to him through reasoning that, do you have a mother? Do you have a sister? And would you like that for your own? Now ask that brother too, like if you have a sister and someone was stalking your sister like that, it's over. Exactly. Like the brother is saying, it's over. You know what I'm saying? And so think about it, that perspective. That's someone's daughter. That's someone's sister. And she has her own dignity. SubhanAllah. She has a right to say what you're doing is pretty creepy. It is. It's not right. It's not right. And like I said, this is beyond just Islamically impermissible. We're going into a whole nother level of impermissibility.
And the end of this was that Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, after telling him that, prayed for him, and so everyone should pray.
Definitely, subhanAllah. The Prophet ﷺ not only gave him, he didn't just do cognitive discussion with him, but he also, obviously, which we all should do, is he turned to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the end and made dua for the righteousness of this man. And the man said that, subhanAllah, there was no sin more disgustful in my sight after that meeting with the Prophet ﷺ than zina. Now, one more thing. The Sahaba, when they heard the sin, they really kind of jumped up. The companions of the Prophet, when they heard him asking permission, they really kind of just like jumped up right away and were ready to jump on him, like we were kind of doing in this situation. But the Prophet ﷺ said, no, relax. You know what I'm saying? Relax. He's a human being just like you. You have problems. He has another problem. He may be weak here, but you're weak somewhere else. Right? So don't jump on the brother. Love took him over. Obviously, we want to consult him. We want to help him. But we never find fault in the person. We always try to look for his betterment and make dua for him, inshallah. Oh, sister, yes?
If he can't get over her by himself, would you recommend him getting professional help?
Definitely.
I'm serious.
The Khalil Institute is in Chicago. Anyone know about Khalil Institute? Anyone heard about Khalil Institute? So Khalil Institute is a Muslim owned and operated. They do therapy, like for different mental health. Thank you, mental health therapists and things like that. And it's amazing because Many of them are scholars in Islam. They have a deep understanding of Islamic law and things like that. They open their own center to help Muslims who have mental problems. And we don't find that. Normally when a Muslim has a problem, then they have to go to someone who doesn't really understand not only their culture but their religion to get mental help. And Khalil Institute in Chicago is doing that right now. So if you're interested in this field, I know a lot of brothers and sisters like this field. It's a great sadaqah to get into this field. We need more therapists. We need more people, but it's grounded in Islamic knowledge, who understand, because the Prophet was the best of therapists. The Prophet was the best of therapists dealing with people. So I would highly recommend people looking into the Khalil Institute in Chicago.
This is from a 20-year-old girl.
It's the last one.
Assalamu
It's the last one.
I'm a 20-year-old Muslim girl who goes to college. My parents think that it is time for me to get married. I met a Muslim guy 3 years ago, and we started off as just friends. As time passed, we developed feelings for each other, and a year after we started dating. I went in a relationship with him with the intention of marrying him one day, and he said that he thought the same way. During our haram relationship, he started comparing me to other girls, didn't put too much attention towards me, and made me have low self-esteem. That made me feel like I wasn't good enough for him. But then he left me for an entire year, and I became closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and decided to put my trust towards Allah more by doing that. By doing that, I finished the Quran. I talked to my parents about wanting to do nikah with him because of our relationship and the love that I had for him. He came back after a year. I forgave him for his actions, and after 2 years in our relationship, things changed. We became closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then we wanted nikah. At this time period, I also embraced hijab. During this time period, whenever we would get into fights, he would ask me why I wear hijab and that he never told me to wear hijab, and I could just take it off for all he cares. Sometimes that made me feel like taking it off, and it made me feel insecure about myself. But alhamdulillah, I never gave in. My parents agreed to the nikah, but his parents didn't want him to marry until he finished his education. His mother also doesn't have a good perception of me because she thinks that I'm interfering with his life and his studies. I did a lot to try to win his family's heart, but nothing seems to please them. They want us to wait until he finishes his degree, but they also don't want to commit to my family or anything of that sort, which makes me a little suspicious about their intentions. It is difficult to be distant from each other due to both of us wanting to get married and the fact that we both have feelings for each other and we live so close to one another. Because he's a guy, and of course he has more of that physical attraction to me than I have for him. One day he took me to a place where we were alone together, which made me uncomfortable, and his sudden desire pushed him to kiss me, and he kissed me, and I pushed him off of me, and the sudden guilt of what he just did hit him, and he started crying and said that he wanted to go to the mosque and ask for forgiveness. I felt violated and hurt that he would do something like that, especially since we said that our intentions were going to be pure and solely for marriage. After that incident, we both knew that it is best to leave each other because of our actions and the fact that we cannot control ourselves around each other. After we decided to leave each other and go our separate ways, he has tried to get in contact with me, but I refuse to initiate anything without him coming back with a full commitment and his family's approval. So now I want to spend this time and focus on myself and my relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and build myself up again. I find myself often thinking of whether or not I should wait for him. Is he worth the wait? Or should I move on? Also, if we do end up together, will his family ever treat me and accept me with an open heart? Or will they become a barrier between me and him?
How old is she?
20.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. There's so many aspects of this that we already spoke about. True love doesn't begin in disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we also discussed the aspect of platonic friends and how, as she was somewhat naive, Allah knows best. I highly recommend she move on. I mean, there were so many things that were telltale signs that this isn't a type of, first of all, because of its, as Muslims, we should not be in those type of relationships. Secondly, because his actions and the things he said and all of those things are very clear that there isn't compatibility there, and it's time for them to move on. There was so much there. Wallahu alam, where to start. I think many of the aspects of it we discussed throughout tonight, which makes it clear that it's time for her to move on. And move on doesn't mean to look for another relationship like this, but rather to, first of all, establish her relationship with Allah, as she said she was already doing, and secondly, to look for a healthy relationship with someone who is not going to look at her from her physical aspects or anything like that, about her hijab, the things he was saying about hijab. All of those things are just really clear signs that this won't be a healthy relationship in the future. Again, I don't want to mitigate or belittle the impermissibility of these type of relationships. I really, really want us to understand that as Muslims we are taught that these type of relationships are not healthy at all or permissible. So with that said, I mean, she should understand as her right to Allah that it's time for her to let go of this type of relationship unless they're going to get married. And even in that, I think everyone here would agree that this isn't the guy that is best for you, per se. Allah knows best. If anyone else has any other advice for this sister, please give that. Yes, sister?
I feel like a lot of times we like to just pretend like, you know, we're like the victims and that we're the victims, and we just like to, you know, follow our desires and use like, oh, I'm in love just to justify like.
Yeah, that is something we really need to discuss. Thank you, sister, for bringing that up. We justify at the beginning, the whole thing she started was like, we're going to get married, right? So now that means everything we do from this point on is okay? No, not at all, right? That doesn't justify all those things. The outcome doesn't justify the means. That's not Islamic principle, that whatever the means is, it doesn't matter as long as the outcome is good. No, that's what Yusuf's brothers said, like, uqtulu Yusuf, wa takunu min ba'dihi qawman salihin. Like, we'll kill Yusuf, then we'll be really pious people. Oh, but killing him is wrong. How are you going to get piety through a wrong action? Right? So you can't expect good through a wrong action and starting off the action that way. Because a sin, remember this golden rule. The reward of a sin is Allah allows you to do another sin. And the reward of a righteous deed is that Allah allows you to do another righteous deed. So the sin brings another sin. And that's why we find ourselves in this constant, circle, just constantly. And we expect, I'm going to do one sin, that's the last one, but that sin will take me out. And the logic is a fallacy. One sin, the sin brings another sin. وَجَزَاءُ سَيِّئَةٍ بِسَيِّئَةٍ مِثْلِهَا. So, understand that shaitan takes us step by step, and we begin to justify, like she said, that I'm in love, we're going to get married. So now everything we do from this point on is okay? No, not at all. The Prophet ﷺ has given us clear guidelines what to follow when it comes to these type of relationships.
She don't need him.
I'd like to add something also. If you look at what Ashley went for a story, it seems like many of these brothers they go up to the level of agreeing to marry each other without involving the family, and then later on one of the families like, oh no, you're not married this person, or you're not ready. So do not take it up to that level of agreeing to marry someone without having the family involved, because family decision matter also.
Yeah, that is big. They wait until the last moment where there's complete, we're almost at that last step. We know we want to, and then now we'll bring it to the parents. Yeah. Where that's a huge aspect in Islam. That's.
Parents, they raise you up from involve them early on.
Okay. Just tell him it's the last one.
Okay, this is the last one.
Okay, I got you. I'm a non-Muslim guy, and I have a problem that I cannot understand, and it is hard for me to solve it on my own because of that. I've been told by multiple people that I have sometimes rude, douchey attitude. One of them suggests that is the reason why I have hardly any close friends at all. Most people understand that the way I carry myself is not intentionally offensive, and I never do mean to be disrespectful. But the fact is that it's true. I do not have many close friends at all with anyone. I've missed out on several chances at getting a girlfriend. It's rare that I stay in contact with anyone for more than a year. I'm disconnected even from my family. That has been the case for so long now that I don't care to try to fix it, and neither do they. If I don't solve this, then I fear that my situation will only get worse and worse, and I will continue to be lonely. Sometimes I get depressed and melancholy about this situation. The loneliness breeds boredom, and the feeling is horrible to experience on a regular basis. This is from a 19-year-old male.
Thank you. He speaks about his personality. I have a sometimes rude attitude. And also he speaks about how because of that, most people understand the way I carry myself is not intentionally offensive, and I never do mean to be disrespectful. Many times, and this is difficult for a lot of us to do, is we have to somewhat be conscious of how we'll be perceived. Something that we'll do will be perceived. And I know this sounds somewhat contradictory to what I was saying, how people look at you, but it's not, because sometimes we intend well, and you're causing harm. You're not doing what's right. Some people don't understand when to crack a joke, when not to crack a joke. So you have to really be conscientious of how people will accept what you're doing. For some people, it comes really natural. You know what offends, what doesn't. Some of us, and we all had friends that just say the wrong joke at the wrong time. You're like, okay, like I wouldn't have said that right now, right? So what I'm saying is that all of us kind of have to be aware of how the next person will receive that. And if we find ourselves having a habit of saying the wrong thing at the wrong time, the Prophet taught us something very good. Man samata najah. Like silence will save you in many cases. You don't have to speak all the time. You don't have to say something. That's one thing I would tell him. The other thing he says is that if I don't solve this, I fear that it will get worse and worse. Yeah, it will. We all know people with really, really bad attitudes that no one likes to hang around. And the Rasul ﷺ said, Al-mu'min ya'lafu wa la khayra min la ya'laf wa la yu'laf. That the believer, and this goes for anyone, should have a loving personality, and such that others love him and that he loves others. So we are sent here and here to be like these people who others feel comfort being around. And if you are not a flower to the people around and you're a thorn to the people around, then this is a problem. You need to be a flower to everyone around you, not a thorn that pricks everyone that comes across. And for some, it's natural. Again, all of us have our own battles that we're struggling with. Some people are naturally very comforting, very good. Some people have to work on that. But that's your paradise. That's where your paradise lies. Now, for example, take this person who has naturally what he feels is bad character. And now look at all of the hadith, the sayings of the Prophet that said that the thing that will weigh the most on the scales of judgment, day of judgment, will be good character. Right? The thing that will benefit you the most on the day of judgment is good character. Like all of these hadith that talk about good character, that's for him. Like that's what you have to fix, bro. That's your way of getting Jannah. Some of us are naturally just so nice and so social. Everyone loves us, but we don't pray. We don't do our stuff for Allah. Also, now you got to focus on something else. So understand that we all have a different test, and we all have to step up to the plate. Recognize our deficiencies. Know your strengths, weaknesses, vulnerabilities. Know all those things about yourself and work on your weaknesses. And for this brother, this particular person, the weakness is his akhlaq, his character. That's his weakness. So he has to really, really try his best to make friends and find out what he's doing wrong and just work at that thing. One way to work at it is those few friends you do have, always ask them for, like, when they notice something you're doing wrong, asking them, hey, someone you really trust, ask them to give you sincere advice. Like, what do you notice about me that's wrong? The other thing is to look at those who criticize you. Like those your enemies that criticize you, there's some truth to what they say. So whatever they're saying, look at it and try to fix that thing. Right? So there's different ways you can go about. There's so many books on good character written by so many scholars for the Muslims and just in general about PR or PQ. PQ is so important, how you interact with people. It's really, really important. I deal with this all the time in the masjid. There's just certain people that are just like, I'm like that. That's me. Right? That's how I am. Everyone deal with it. No. You have to fix yourself, man. That's your mujahada. That's your struggle. Just fix that thing and you'll gain your Jannah through that. You'll gain your paradise through that. I think it's getting late, inshallah. Sister Zainab. Yes, sister.
I would suggest that he can start small by smiling at a stranger,
Subhanallah.
giving
Subhanallah.
a sincere compliment to
Yes.
anybody.
Yeah.
It'll help him.
A book he could read is, what's the book? Carnegie? How to Win Friends, Influence People. Right? I would recommend he could read that. That's a start. That's not the end. That's just the surface. There's books that go a lot deeper than that. There's another a book by subhanallah. The name slips my mind. Enjoy Your Life. Enjoy Your Life. Who's the author of that one? Enjoy Your Life.
We could post it on the page.
Yeah, I'll find it. Enjoy Your Life is the Muslim version of How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's a really good book on those small ways a character rectifying one's character.
Here, everyone's stomach's growling. But I would like to say a few things before we end our program. When I first started telling people about my idea about this event, I could already see their stories being reflected in their eyes. And when they would smile at me and say, yes, I need this, that is what pushed me to work hard and make this event happen with, of course, my MSA cabinet. I know that sometimes when tragedies like these happen, we want to isolate ourselves. We feel as though no one can understand our pains. All I want to ask you is that who could understand our wounded hearts but the one who created it? So cry out to Him and know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with the people whose hearts have been wounded. And then find your way back to the believers. And if you feel as though you are too depressed, that your iman, faith in God, is too weak, then know that there are people out there that can help you find your way back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You just have to take that first step to reach out.